What 2025 showed us is don't cast cowboys on reality TV, because Taylor on Love Island Season 7 was definitely one of my least favorite individuals. The man never stood on business. I think he is a little bitch, and I still feel that way. What is up, everybody? I wanted to do something fun and do like my best and worst of reality TV in 2025. It's been fun on this channel in 2025. You've all been like 3,000 new subscribers in 2025, which I appreciate. And so it has been fun talking about reality TV with y'all, and I thought I would give my personal bests and worsts of the year in reality TV. Now, this is not like awards, even though that's kind of what I'm calling it. I don't even like award shows. I talk about that here before. I hate the Emmys, hate the Golden Globes. There's been so many reports on the Golden Globes being like bought and paid for with gifts and money. Like, they call these awards prestigious, but it's just Hollywood kissing ass and buying awards. And in pro wrestling, I talk about how they just try and pretend when they give out these awards, Sports Illustrated and stuff. They're really just kissing the asses of people too, but pretending that their opinion actually is the truth and that they know who the best and worst is. That's not what I'm doing here today. I am giving you all my own personal opinion of what the best and the worst from this past year of reality television was. You can disagree. In fact, I would like your opinions in the comments for all these categories I cooked up today. Now, I unfortunately have to start by talking about Mickey from Big Brother 27, who sadly passed away last week on Christmas Day at only 35 years old. Of flu complications, of all things, that complicated her heart. Now, they reported that she was born with a hole in her heart, or at least Julie Chen talked about that. Her family said it was healed, but still, I wonder if like flu usually kills people because of preconditions or because of age. At 35, I don't know what happened, but because of the situation, because of how young she was, it is a very sad case. I don't like talking about death, because obviously it's sad, and this is just a really tough situation. And I think because of the live feeds of Big Brother, the death hits harder because you got to watch that person every single day for a couple of months. You feel like you got to know the person, whether you liked watching Mickey or you didn't. It makes it a bigger loss because of the live feeds aspect of Big Brother. You're not just watching an edit of the person. You really get to know the person with their time on feeds 24/7. My first category is most underrated reality star of the year. I have to give it to Mickey with the circumstances. But I also really do feel like we did underrate Mickey as a reality television star. Now, unfortunately, as a Big Brother player, Mickey was not good. Mickey was not good at Big Brother, and I spent many of times in the middle of the season having to shit on her game, unfortunately. But just because she was not good at the game of Big Brother did not mean that she was not good TV. You can be on one of these shows and be entertaining, even maybe be villainous at times, which Mickey could be, and you're still meant for reality TV. That's why when the season ended, Mickey was one of the people at the top of my list that I wanted to see on the challenge. And now, after the fact, we are learning that she was contacted by the challenge and possibly would have been on the challenge, which also makes it sad that we couldn't see her thrive on reality TV some more. And even if you just take reality TV out of it, it's just so young. Tomorrow is not promised, and I think life is short, and I think we need to try and do what we want to do while we are here, because Mickey was just on a podcast a few weeks ago talking about future plans, and you never know when that future is going to stop coming. So just a very sad situation, and my condolences go out to her loved ones and even the cast of Big Brother 27. I'm glad I got to cover her and Ashley making up. That was the last video I posted, was Ashley, even though she was the younger of the two by a decade, she was the one to reach out to Mickey and try and mend their issues after the season. Unfortunately, I don't know if Morgan and Mickey ever got a chance to mend their problems, sadly. So, sad way to start this. Let's move on and get to some more funner topics and funner categories. So I put Mickey as most underrated reality star of the year 2025. Let's talk about the most overrated reality star of the year. Some of my nominations would have been Rizzo from Survivor. Very overrated because of Jeff Probst's love for him. And it's gone to a point that anytime Jeff really, really hypes up a player and really seems to love a player, I know I'm going to hate him. From episode 1 of Survivor 49, when Rizzo was patting himself on the back because he won a single challenge by cheating, and he acted like it was the biggest accomplishment in his life by cheating, it really showed me how overrated this guy was going to be. And I still feel this way, even though he did end up playing a pretty good game as the season went on. I think what hurts Rizzo is that we all knew he was going to be on season 50 and Jeff Probst's love for him. So he's still very overrated to me. Of course, also on my list, sorry, Devin, is Keanu from Big Brother 27, America's favorite player. How can he not be overrated? I said Mickey was a bad player. She was in a season full of bad players, and the worst player on that season was Keanu. Strategically, he was terrible. His social game was probably the worst in Big Brother 27. But because of a good edit, America votes him as America's favorite player. He's still very highly overrated to me, and I don't know if he will be on The Challenge or another show, but I expect him to fail miserably at the social and strategic aspect of that whatever game he's on again. But the most overrated person in reality TV for the year, my winner in this category has to be Huda from Love Island season 7. She amassed this large fan base on the TikTok brain rot app because it's a bunch of youngins, and I guess they don't see how toxic of a person Huda is. But Huda was extremely toxic. She was the problem. She played the professional victim. She got really creepy with Chris towards the end of the season. And then even after the season, because she saw her popularity, she didn't do a very good job of admitting to her faults from the season come the reunion. And then, of course, after the season, she ends up on a live where she is laughing at someone calling one of her fellow castmates the N-word and then gets in trouble all over again. Huda is a toxic person, and she is the most overrated star of 2025 by far. Next up, next category is Best Reality TV Fights of the Year. Honestly, the Big Brother 27 fights were pretty lame to me. I did enjoy Rachel's meltdown on Morgan when Morgan continued to say she was going to bring Rachel to jury. And of course, Rachel didn't want to just go to jury. She wanted to win the game, and she got mad at Morgan. But Morgan didn't really fight back in that fight. One of the biggest and best fights of the year was probably on the Challenge 41 with Anissa and Ashley getting into it. And Ashley just giving Anissa real talk that Anissa is delusional if she thinks she was going to win the final against some of those rookies in season 41. And Anissa acting like Ashley was just being this huge bitch, and then it devolves in them personally attacking each other tit for tat. It really got ugly. So it had to be one of the top fights. They even edited out a lot of it, though. The Challenge doesn't even like to give us fights these days. That fight got a little too nasty, probably, but it was still a good fight. The best fight to me, though, wasn't even really nasty. It was really all in jest. It came from the Traitors USA Season 3 at one of the round tables when Bob the Drag Queen was getting into it with Boston Rob because Boston Rob was turning on his fellow traitor and Bob was fighting for his life. And Dylan Efron was caught in the crossfire with Bob saying things like Dylan Efron's brother is not a good actor, and giving him the misguided drag name Bob the Drag Queen was hilarious in that round table fight. And the fact that so much of the audience was so hurt for Dylan Efron's feelings, because how dare Bob the Drag Queen attack his brother, even though it was clearly all in jest. That was my favorite fight of the year. It made me laugh very hard because Bob the Drag Queen drags people very well. The best cast is the next category. This is a tough one because not a lot of casts were great this past year. I would have to give it to one of the challenge seasons. I liked that the challenge 41 had some good rookies for once that brought a lot to the show. And also the challenge All-Stars 5 was earlier this year too. Frank being on that cast alone for the first time in many years pretty much made that cast for me. So I will give the best cast to both of the challenge seasons this year. They did a good job with the casting. Hopefully they can do another good job again for 42 before they possibly get canceled. They need to do a good job on casting again. Some people would probably say The Traitors season 3, but honestly, I did not. That was my least favorite The Traitors cast of the first 3 seasons, and coming on to this 4th season here in a week. Season 3 had the worst cast of any of the Traitors USA casts, in my opinion. The worst cast of the year is the next category, and the Big Brother 27 cast was really awful at the game, but frankly, I had fun watching them all season, and I had fun dragging them all season with my commentary on the live feed. So I'm not going to give them the worst cast, even if they sucked at the game. The Survivor casts always blend together. 48 and 49, not really these outstanding casts with their love of casting Survivor nerds these days. The Love Island USA Season 7 cast was pretty awful as well. They casted a bunch of people that were not there to find love and were just there to find fame. And that really actually hurt the concept of the show, which is for people to couple up. But you have a bunch of people with no chemistry, or you have people that knew each other years before the season started in Ace and Shelly that really brought down the season overall. So they're very close to being the worst cast, but in my opinion, the worst cast of 2025 has to go to The Amazing Race 38. Why they even cast Jag again in the first place when he was universally hated for winning Big Brother was a question mark to me. But not only do they cast Jag, but they cast Jag and his brother in a cast with no real competition for them outside of Tucker and his brother Eric. That cast was not a cast that was going to bring us good drama. Though it was a cast full of people that were not trying to win the game, all this alliances and shit. It turned out to be a really bad cast, and giving us a Jag win just kind of sealed the deal for me that cast sucked. Best host of reality TV for 2025. I will always like TJ Lavin. I'm not giving him the best host, though. It's definitely not going to be Julie Chen or Jeff Probst. That's for damn sure. I think the best host probably has to be Alan Cummings of The Traitors. I would give it to him. He does entertain me. The best showmance/romance of 2025. There were some good ones. The cheatmance with Vince and Morgan got very popular towards the end of season, whatever it was, 27. And they were entertaining. They had that human chemistry we talked about for a few weeks. But since the postseason, there's nothing happening with them. Vince is just a very boring, I guess, individual who doesn't want to be in the spotlight, even though he went on a show and cheated on his girlfriend. So I'm not giving it to them. I really loved watching Izzy and Paige on The Amazing Race. They are quite literally couple goals, just so there for each other, so patient with one another. They know how to calm each other down. They know how to hype each other up. They were a great couple to watch on The Amazing Race. But the winner has to be Nick and Olandria from Love Island. I mean, there is not a more popular couple in the world right now than Nick and Olandria. They had their friends to lovers story on Love Island season 7, where I was with it. I wasn't necessarily convinced it was ever going to happen because it didn't seem like Olandria had ever dated a white guy and wasn't going to pursue that. And then we had the whole Nick and Sierra drama going on for so long, and there was a lot of twists and turns along the way for them, but they end up together in the end. They are still together outside the show now, no matter what the haters want to say, no matter if they're going to end up staying a couple or just being friends. Nick and Olandria have a genuine care for one another that kind of goes unmatched. You can tell how much they actually like each other, for one, but actually just care about seeing the other succeed. They have some couple goals too when it comes to just hyping up your significant other and being there to support them no matter what. They do a great job of that. The best moment in reality TV of 2025. You know, speaking of Nick and Olandria, their soul ties kiss was pretty top notch. That was the best episode of the season by far. It was the most watched episode of the season. And it showed that in a season with a complete lack of chemistry between most of the people, Nick and Olandria actually had some real chemistry. And you can tell by a person's eyes when they are really, really into someone. And Nick was really, really into Olandria, especially after that kiss. So that was a great moment. Not going to put it as my top moment. I already talked about Bob the Drag Queen going ham at the round table before his elimination. I was so entertained by that round table that it has to be at least one of the nominations for best moment. But I'm going to give best moment of the year to that time when Morgan was walking into Vince's HOH thinking Vince was in there alone. She was looking at him, going in for a hug because they just loved hugging one another. And then she sees everyone else in the room and has to pretend like she wasn't going in for a hug with Vince. It made for a great moment. It made for a great short. If you put any music to it, any romantic music to it, it still cracks me up. Bob the Drag Queen cracked me up a lot during the Traitors. But I think that moment with Morgan and Vince made me laugh more than any other moment in reality TV this past year. Best villain of 2025. I mean, it depends how you see a villain. I would say that on Survivor 49, Rizzo, Savannah, I have to give them some credit. The season was just too obvious, thanks to us knowing who was on season 50, that it hurt the season overall. It hurt watching the season. But the fact that Rizzo and Savannah had a minority and got so far, despite that, while being pretty villainous along the way, they were some good villains. But I'm going to give my top villains of 2025 to the Traitors on season 3 of the Traitors. Bob the Drag Queen, Danielle Reyes, Boston Rob. Not Caroline, though. Not Caroline for me. I think that Bob did his thing as a villain. He was great at dragging people. Obviously, Boston Rob did his thing as a villain by turning on Bob the Drag Queen, which was a big mistake for the Traitors, but it's also why they were the villains. They were turning on each other left and right. The reason why I don't include Caroline in this is because, well, Danielle was the reason for her and Caroline being a mess as traitors. I didn't like the way Caroline played. She didn't even try to be a traitor. She was being very anti-traitor, even though she was a traitor, in a way like she didn't want to kill people. That's the game. That's the job. Hopefully that was Caroline's last time on reality TV. That's the way I feel about it. But I did enjoy the other traitors, even though they were a hot-ass mess. This is a tough one. Best player in a competition show in 2025. I thought Gabby from Traitors 3 was actually a good player. She was the best faithful. She was the only faithful in a large group of faithfuls that ended up winning that I think deserved to win. I think Rachel returned to Big Brother 27 and played a great game where she never got nominated, despite being the only returning player, despite being a past winner. I have to give her credit for the game she played. Now, of course, Morgan stans think that Morgan was the best player in this past season. She was a competition beast, and she had a great end game, but I guess I gotta piss them off just one last time because I am giving best player in a competition show to Ashley, who won Big Brother 27. And while she didn't get the edit because that show has the worst editing out of any show, go back to my commentary on the feeds this season, and I detailed how Ashley knew what was going on in that game all season long. She had the best read on the pulse of that house all season long. She was able to convince people to do things at times that they didn't want to do. She, even at the end, even though she ended up beating Morgan in the final HOH, she convinced Morgan to also take her to the end over Vince, even though I think that would have been a closer final two than if Morgan had taken Vince to the end. Ashley did her thing. Some people still want to give her a flack for being a bad winner. I don't see that to be the case. If you just watch the TV show, which is the worst edited TV show of any show I'm talking about today in reality TV, then I can kind of understand why you feel that way. But if you don't watch the feeds, you don't really get to see the game play out because they don't edit worth a damn. Ashley's a good winner, and she was the best player this year in 2025. The overall most entertaining reality TV personality of the year. Ashley's a possibility here too. I loved Ashley on the feed. She has that Sagittarius energy where she kind of has no tact and just says things to people's faces that she probably shouldn't be saying. I enjoyed Michaela on the Challenge 41 for kind of the same thing. I mean, she is a fellow Sagittarius, and clearly I like to watch Sagittariuses on reality TV. In fact, Izzy on The Amazing Race was once again great to watch. She's another Sagittarius. I mean, listen, Sagittariuses clearly make for good reality TV because they were three of the most entertaining people over this past year. And I'm not a Sagittarius, I'm a Pisces. Fellow Pisces Nick, Love Island, he entertained me too. He was very funny. He had some of the main storylines on Love Island season 7. But I'm actually going to give most entertaining personality to someone who's not a Sagittarius or a Pisces. That being Bob the Drag Queen. In case you can't tell, nobody entertained me more, nobody made me laugh more than Bob the Drag Queen on this Traitors season. He was a diva. He was a drag star in the fact that he was dragging people left and right when he has to. I would not want to get into a verbal confrontation with Bob the Drag Queen. There are some people who are also great at verbal confrontations that I feel like maybe I could try. I feel like I could just push Michaela's buttons if I had to. I feel like I could push Izzy's buttons if I have to. I feel like Ashley might slay me too because she's a lawyer and all that. She's great with words. But Bob the Drag Queen, I don't know if anyone can verbally spar with Bob because he will just drag you for filth so easily. He's great at that, and I find that entertaining. Next category, the worst twist of 2025. And there were some bad twists on these reality shows because they think they need twists all the time, even though it just hurts their own shows. The Traitors twist on season 3 hurt the season for me. It's why it's my least favorite season. There was no need for Boston Rob, Derek, and Wes to come into the game late and get this big advantage, especially Boston Rob, who came into the game late and got to be a traitor. That's just more power than anyone has gotten on the Traitors show. Yeah, I don't know why they treated these three as people that should get this advantage in a cast that had winners like Tony on it. So I didn't like that at all. It was just a stupid twist that hurt the overall cast. And I know they did it because people like Derek wouldn't have wanted to play without an advantage because they don't want to ruin their reputation. But if you're really as good as a player as you say you are, Derek, you shouldn't need advantages in a game. So, hated that twist. Love Island Season 7 had a terrible twist when they didn't have a real Casa Amor. And it's kind of not producers' fault, but it kind of is because they still cast those people and no couple had chemistry. So they decided to break them all up at Casa Amor and not give us a real Casa Amor. Horrible twist. But of course, the worst twist was Rachel's elimination in Big Brother 27. Arguably the worst twist of all time. It was not Big Brother. No one should be eliminated by just a challenge on Big Brother. No chance for a nomination, no chance for a veto, no chance for a vote. Just eliminated because of a challenge twist. That was awful, and Rachel got screwed. And it's stuff like that that actually just holds Big Brother 27 back. But when you got Grodner as a producer, it's no surprise. The worst show overall of 2025... Survivor has fallen off very, very hard for me. So they are a contender here, but I'm not giving them the worst spot just yet. But in a year or two, they might be the worst reality show out there. I also find Love is Blind on Netflix to be a total bore and just totally stupid with the way the people act on that show. But the worst show for me over the past year had to be Love Island Games. Absolutely horrendous. They decided that they're going to try and come off of the popularity of their main show and make this competition show, but they decided that they were going to give it no real format. Some weeks people are eliminated by a fan vote, and some weeks people actually do go into elimination together and someone gets eliminated. And some weeks it's just random. Terrible. You can't have a show without a format. That was a terrible damn show, and it was a failed ratings disaster too, because you're coming off the most popular show on Peacock, you do this spinoff and your ratings suck, and I can see why, because the format sucks, because there was no format. The last few things here, I'm gonna rank the networks, the three main networks in order that have the reality shows that I watch. The worst right now has to be CBS and Paramount. Survivor has fallen off hard. Amazing Race is boring. Big Brother did have a rebound, but their producers do these terrible twists and try to kill their own show. They also have The Challenge, and while the main show was better than usual, it still has the possibility of getting canceled soon. So CBS and Paramount, their reality TV shows are in bad shape. I'll put Netflix at number 2, even though most of their shows do not do it for me. Their dating shows don't do it for me. Squid Game's The Challenge doesn't do it for me. They do have one show I did love, though, that I never even talked about on this channel, but I'm going to save that for the next category. And then the best network right now for reality TV has to be Peacock and Universal. They have all the housewife shows, not that I watch modern housewife shows, but they have Traitors and Love Island. And even though I didn't like the Traitors Season 3 of USA, and even though I didn't love Love Island Season 7, you can't say they weren't entertaining shows. Traitors Season 3 was still entertaining. Love Island Season 7 was a hot mess, but we were all tuned in, ready to see what happened next. So Peacock and Universal are getting it done. Last three categories, the main three categories. What was the best reality show of 2025? I mean, personally, I think it was the Traitors OCG right here on the channel. One of the games I did over the past year.
Mike, I remember you saying I was full of shit a game or two ago. Tonight, I believe a lot of what you've done to this group of faithfuls was full of shit.
You should all go watch it. Plenty of drama there too. I don't know when I will do another show. They're very time consuming to record, and then I gotta edit them. Maybe one day I will do another one, but you should all go check out the Traitors OCG and all the past shows I've done on this channel before we had 3,000, new subscribers. Big Brother was more entertaining this season because of the live feeds, but I can't call it the best show. when they have the worst editing out of any show on this list, and their producers try and kill their own show. The Challenge 41 was an improvement, but there was a lot of cheating scandals over this past season that I didn't like. Even down to the final, there was cheating going on. Producers got to fix that problem. Challenge All Stars 5 is a strong contender for best show. For me, though, the last 5 All-Star seasons of the Challenge are superior to the last 5 main show seasons. The best reality show for me was a Netflix show called Building the Band that I didn't cover on the channel because I didn't end up watching it until like a month after it aired. But they did a really good job of finding some talented bands, you know, like boy bands, girl bands. There was even a mixed band that was like one of my favorites. And unlike Modern American Idol and unlike The Voice, I feel like some of the bands are having success after the season. So they did a really good job. I don't think I've ever seen anyone from The Voice actually be successful. You know, early American Idol, Kelly Clarkson, and all of them, we had a few that, you know, rose to fame, but never on The Voice. This is like The Voice where they can't see each other. They could just hear each other's voices and then decide who they want to be in a band with and then compete together. Great concept. Maybe I'll cover it the next season if I have time. So who was the worst reality star of the year? There's a few contenders. There's really only 2 main contenders. There's a third person I don't like, and that's Lucinda from Love Island Games. I really don't like her. I don't know how she was on other seasons in the UK and Australia. I find her to be, she has a sense of humor, sure, but I find her to be really, really obnoxious and probably a little racist too, so I didn't like Lucinda. But what 2025 showed us is don't cast cowboys on reality TV, because Taylor on Love Island Season 7 was definitely one of my least favorite individuals of the year. He was an atrocity on Love Island Season 7, stringing Nicolandria along only to never stand on business. And then when he finally stands on business, allegedly, and chooses Clark, that becomes his saying on social media. The man never stood on business. I think he is a little bitch, and I still feel that way. But the main cowboy that sucked on reality TV in 2025 was Reilly from Big Brother 27. Awful casting. Not there to play the game. Stalkerish with Kat. And well, he got his woman after the season because Big Brother just casts people with no self-esteem, like apparently Kat doesn't have. Watching the way he treated her on the feeds was creepy, very controlling, giving stalker vibes, giving serial killer vibes at times. Reilly was just cringe and awful to watch. The worst reality star of the year. The best reality star of the year, my final category, there's really only 2 possibilities for me personally. One is Ashley, Big Brother 27. One of my favorite people to watch. Although I guess you could add Bob the Drag Queen to this list too, because I did have fun watching him. He didn't last very long as a traitor. We were robbed of seeing him longer. But the reality star of the year has to be Nicolandria. She is bigger than the show right now. She has Reddits made just to hate her. She has all these haters, but all these people that love her as well. Her brands love her because she gets all this attention to whatever brand she goes to. She's been killing it after. She has a name that can be recognized by just one name. Like Madonna, she's Nicolandria, and she's killing it. I think she has to be the reality star of the year, even though my girl Ashley is one of my faves as well. So that was my long-winded best and worst of 2025 in reality TV. Let me know some of your winners in the categories in the comments.